was just 45 years old when the doctor told me that the grinding pain in my hip was chronic. That meant it would never heal and hip surgery was inevitable. I was speechless. And I actually know he said more stuff after that, but I don't really remember anything else he said because I couldn't believe what he had just told me. It felt like if my life was over. No more longboarding, snowboarding. Like I was never going to take my daughter tree climbing, those ab things ever again. And then the panic set in because I was in so much pain. And I can remember it like yesterday when it hit me. He said that I wasn't a candidate yet. Like I actually had to wait for my hip to fail. I could barely move. Like I could barely stand. Like laying down hurt. And I needed to suffer more than that. How long would I be suffering? And yet, interestingly, I credit those sleepless nights with the fact that I found the answer. So, spoiler alert, it turns out the doctor was wrong. Hi, I'm Violet. And if you've ever been told that your pain is just a normal part of aging, then you need to hear my story. Please subscribe. So I wasn't sleeping. What was I doing? On the internet, searching desperately, trying to find anything that would tell me what I could do to help myself. Now, of course, being a stubborn person like I am, the first thing I did do, like day one, when the doctor told me that there was nothing I could do, I decided that this hip thing had to be about my weight. And although the doctor talked about my weight, he wasn't convinced that me losing weight would do anything. But again, if I wasn't going to do nothing, so I decided I'm going to walk every day and try to lose some weight. But in the searching that I was doing online about, what was wrong with me, a lot of my focus was on my weight causing hip pain. And those searches were going nowhere. And then I was looking for things I could do that were not medical to solve, like if my hip is actually going to need a surgery. Like, is there anything I could do that would be natural to not have that happen? Which didn't bring me any results. Months and months go by. I'm trying to lose weight. So what was I doing? I was eating a low-fat diet. I increased the amount of fruit that I was eating because, well, to be quite frank, I didn't eat fruit at all. So I added fruit to my diet. I hate fruit. So I added fruit to my diet. And then I was walking because, move more, eat less is the natural thing that we all do when we're trying to lose weight. And I couldn't go to the gym and do big workouts. All I could do was walk. So that's what I was doing. And I will tell you that for 8 months, I walked and walked and walked and walked. But I got some great data out of my walking that ended up helping me with my research. What happened was I didn't lose any weight with the walking, but what I did learn was that every time I went for a very long walk, I shouldn't say every time. So maybe like 3 or 4 months into this walking process, when I would go for my walk, the walking eventually helped. So I started off limping and eventually as the walk would progress, I would be walking. So my hip would feel better. And then when I got back to my office, I would be able to sit comfortably for at least an hour to an hour and a half before the pain came back. I changed what I was searching for on Google. I started to search for, why does my hip feel better when I go for long walks or stuff like that? And, I played with the question over and over till finally I fell into something that was telling me that if your hip feels better when you engage it, that's a sign that you have inflammation. It didn't make sense to me, but I started to search inflammation in your hip and causes and all this kind of stuff. And what I learned shocked me. I learned that there was a bunch of chemicals that could cause inflammation, but I didn't see any way that I could have come in contact with those chemicals. I was not a smoker, and I didn't hang around people that smoked. I was not an excessive drinker, although I did have occasional drinks, and I was willing to give that up. But it didn't seem, from what it was saying, that could be the problem. The one thing that I knew I was engaging with that came up was sugar. I had a hard time believing that that was what was happening because the doctor had told me that the answer to this hip thing was surgery. So if my food was causing inflammation all over my body and the answer was surgery, then these two ideas don't match. Now, I will tell you, Wellness Warrior, that when I went to my doctor and we discussed my hip and we looked at my weight and we did, not one point did he take a blood test or like we were very focused on hip hurts, nothing he could do about it. At no point did he say to me that I could actually change anything. At no point did he say to me that this hip injury was indicative of more other internal injuries happening. Like, he didn't make the connection between my hip hurting and the fact that my knees had been hurting since I was 23. The fact that my elbow started hurting when, we blamed that one on badminton. The fact that my back hurt, we blamed that on the weight that I gained when I had my daughter. Like, there was always a different reason for why my different joints were hurt. He didn't pull it all together to me and say it's all the same thing. So, Wellness Warrior, I want to help you to see what I was finally seeing. It was like my house had a leak coming down from the roof. And I call someone in to check, like, there's water coming in. And the person goes in my house and he looks around and he says, oh, there's water coming in. It's dripping from there. He takes a bucket, he puts it under the drip, and he says, there you go, man. That's the solution. And he left. Doesn't go and check the roof. Doesn't do anything else. Empty the bucket every once in a while. The idea that surgery was going to fix me was stupid. All it was going to do was possibly make my hip feel better. But now I actually knew that there was a bigger problem happening that wasn't being addressed. At this moment, Wellness Warrior, I'm going to tell you something. I didn't have evidence that what I was reading online was correct and what the doctor had told me was incorrect. What I had was 8 months of trying really, really, really hard to lose weight with a low-fat diet and a lot of walking and not having lost an ounce. I had a bunch of stuff on my computer telling me that my inflammation issue was going to not only continue to deteriorate my joints, but likely that I was having other kinds of internal health issues from the sugar that I was overeating, that my weight would continue to rise because I was overeating carbohydrates. The information that I was gathering was saying my life was not going to get better if I didn't get the excessive amount of carbohydrates out of my diet. So, considering the amount of pain that I was in and the mind set that I had at that moment, that I will do anything, because after 8 months of all the walking that I was doing, I was ready for the surgery. And I say that being the person who's extremely afraid of surgery, I was ready for the surgery. So now that I understood that maybe my doctor was wrong, that maybe there was something else I could do that was not, that maybe I could help myself, I decided to try keto. I found Dr. Westman's white coat video, and he basically said that what you're trying to do is get your carbohydrate intake down to 20 grams of carbs or less. I understood from his video that high carbohydrate foods, so by the way, sugar and carbohydrates are two words for the same stuff. Dr. Westman helped me to understand that high carbohydrate foods like rice, potatoes, and pasta needed to leave my diet. Bread needed to leave my diet. He encouraged me to eat things like, so in the video, encouraged me to eat things like low glycemic vegetables. And he basically said, whatever low glycemic vegetables you like, eat those. Although he did have a list that he was going through, but honestly, nothing on his list was like stuff I was actually eating. So what I did was I just looked at vegetables that I knew that I was willing to eat, and I ate those. The lower the sugar count, the better. I ended up eating a lot of broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower and stuff like that. Those were vegetables that I knew. I ate meat without cutting off the fat. And I stopped eating the fruit that I was forcing myself to eat. Because I was forcing myself to eat fruit because I thought that's what I need to do to be healthy. Now I knew the fruit was harming me. And I did that for a few, well, I did that moving forward. I did not know what to expect because there were not a lot of people talking about how to do a keto diet when I started doing a keto diet. One thing I did realize though was that I was going to need to just stop eating processed food. Every processed food that I looked at the nutrition information. So like, for example, when I looked at this kind of the nutrition information, this is pasta. Like, barbecue sauce, something I would have put on my meat in the history. When I looked at the nutrition information, like for example, for 2 tablespoons of this stuff, you're getting 9 grams of sugar, carbohydrate. But I know for a fact that I would have had much more than 2 tablespoons of this on my meat, and I probably would have been dipping it as well. So I would have consumed a lot more of that than the recommended serving. My point being, a lot of processed foods just got removed from my diet the day that I started keto, which was April 20th, 2018. I remember that date because it was a turning point in my life. My entire way of living was on the line because I couldn't do any activities with my family. I wasn't playing outside with them anymore. Everything was on the line. So this isn't a diet. And that's what I needed to see for myself. I needed to realize that this was a lifeline, that someone, the internet threw me a lifeline. And if it worked, it was the most important thing I was ever going to do. So I took it seriously. And because I took it seriously, week 1, well, first of all, week 1 was dramatic for me. But because I took it seriously, I didn't give up. So here's what happened week 1. The first 3 days were fine. The meals were different. I wasn't used to eating just meat and vegetables, so that was different. It was new for me, meat and vegetables. But I did it, and it was fine. And I will say that I cooked my meats normally. All I did was not have the side dishes that I normally would have had. It was the vegetables that was just odd. But I spiced them the way that I liked based on my dad's recommendations. My dad is a chef. He gave me some tips on what I was trying to do. And so I spiced them using spices that I already knew I liked. And honestly, Wellness Warrior, everything tasted perfectly fine. I had no complaints about what I was eating day 1, 2, and 3. But on day 4 through 6, life took a turn that I was not expecting. I woke up that morning and my head was pounding. I had all kinds of symptoms. I remember being nauseous. That was an extremely vivid memory that I have. I was irritable. I had cravings. The strangest craving that I had was for fruit. Anybody that knows me knows I hate fruit. And if you are new here, hello, I'm Violet. Welcome to the channel. I hate fruit. And all I wanted was fruit, Wellness Warrior. I now understand that I was living through withdrawal. But those 3 days, they were hell on wheels. And I stuck with it because I had said, I have to do this. I didn't leave myself any room for playing around with this. I said, if I do it, I'm doing it. And in my mind, I needed to get to the place where my body felt good again. And everything was on the line that this was the answer. So I wasn't going to stop. 3 days of extreme hunger. That was the other thing that kind of, I was so hungry and all I could think about was food. The reason that I was able to put all of this together and realize that I was having withdrawal, by the way, and I realized by the middle of the second day that I was having withdrawal. The first day, my headache and whatever, I wasn't sure what was going on. I thought maybe I was catching a cold or something. But by the second day, when the irritability, the headache was still there, the nausea, like all these things that were happening, because of the work that I do, I understood. that I was in withdrawal. I pushed through, and by day, so it would have been day 8, I guess, or 7. By day 7, no, I'm wrong. No, I'm right. By day 7, I felt okay, and I kept going. And the next, 8 days, the first 2 weeks were the next 8 days were uneventful. They were fine. I ate what I was prepared for myself. So I ate on plan: meat, low glycemic vegetables. And that's what I did. And as a matter of fact, I had pre-cooked my meals because I didn't even want to leave myself the possibility of getting home and not wanting to cook. So on the weekend, I was cooking for the week. 2 weeks into this process, I had my first interesting thing happen. After cleaning up my kitchen, I noticed that my daughter had a chocolate bar. Someone had given it to her on the counter. I cleaned up the kitchen. I moved the chocolate bar around. I cleaned up the kitchen. I went to do something else. I came back to the kitchen, and it hit me. I had moved the chocolate bar around, and I hadn't had the thought, I want to eat it. Now, anybody who struggles with their weight, there's certain foods that they just get you. There's certain foods that when you see them, you want to eat them. For me, it's chocolate. Ice cream is another one that would get me. Maybe chocolate chip cookies back then would have been another highway, especially if they were freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. Any of those things, if I saw it, want to eat it. The junk food that I didn't care about at all would have been any kind of candy, right? Like candy for some reason hurt my mouth. So I couldn't eat candy. Even like candy coated chocolate. I did like M&Ms, but I couldn't eat many of them because of the candy shell on the outside, for example. So this is just a strange thing that's me. I didn't like fake chocolate either, so I wouldn't eat like chocolate ice cream because I don't find the chocolate. So I had my thing. What got you, Wellness Warrior? I'm kind of curious to know. You can let me know in the comments below. For me, chocolate. So when I moved that chocolate bar and never had an inkling to eat it, when I came back, that hit me. That was the first signal to me that I had actually gone past. I had gotten through my sugar obsession. I was feeling so calm and confident around things that used to, at the minimum, make me want some. Even if I didn't have it, I would fight myself. No fighting. I think no longer being obsessed had me feeling some kind of hope, because I thought, okay, something is changing. I feel different. And there were other little things that started to show themselves. Like I was sleeping better and I was thinking more clearly. Just little things that will start to make me feel good. But the most important thing, I feel like the huge win for me crept up on me. By this point, we're July 2018 and it's the summer and we're going on vacation with the kids. We went to Ontario, actually. We went and we stayed in Ontario in a really nice place. So we were driving from Quebec to Ontario. That's a good few hour drive. And then over there, we had on vacation, we tend to do a lot of walking and all kinds of stuff. I don't remember how many days that we were actually there before Pat, my spouse, asked me a very important question, because we had done a lot of walking that day. He's like, how's your hip? And Wellness Warrior, when he asked me that question, it hit me. It clicked. My hip was fine. As a matter of fact, we drove all the way Quebec to Upper Canada Village, and I didn't need him to stop the car for me to walk around to, because remember, my hip was the issue. Like I wasn't able to sit. I wasn't able to lay. I wasn't able to stand. Like I had to keep changing positions. Like my hip was so sore. And here we were on vacation and my hip was better. My hip wasn't just sort of better. I had been walking and helping and moving things around, and it crept up on me, Wellness Warrior. I didn't even realize. This is what I want to point out to you. You know how You look in the mirror one day, maybe you look at a picture of yourself and then look in the mirror and go, when did I gain all this weight? Because it just crept up on you. The same thing happens in reverse. But here's the difference. It only took 3 months. I went on the keto diet April 20th, 2018. And just 3 months later, in July, my hip wasn't hurting me anymore. I was still overweight, but my hip wasn't hurting me anymore. I was 60 pounds overweight and my hip felt fine. But even more interestingly, so just for clarity, by the way, in 3 months, I had lost 20-ish pounds, but I had regained the use of my hip fully, doing stuff, happy as heck. You know what happened after 5 months? So a total, April to September. In September 2018, I was at goal weight. It took 2 months more for me to lose 60 pounds. I want to be clear with you, Wellness Warrior. All I was doing was eating a healthy ketogenic diet. I wasn't even working out. I wasn't doing anything special, spectacular, out of the ordinary to try to lose weight. All I was doing was eating healthy, eating on the keto way of eating plan. I had walked for 8 months in the previous year, trying to lose weight and didn't lose an ounce. And then after 5 months of eating healthy, healed my hip and lost 80 pounds. Thinking more clearly, having more energy. What else changed for me? I had rashes, Wellness Warrior, skin issues, rashes, they were gone. All of my joints actually felt better, not just my hip. I had knee pain from the age of 23. All of it solved by the age of 46. So 23 years of pain solved in 5 months, just for clarity. Wellness Warrior, I want you to understand that it was worth it. Removing the fun foods out of my life meant that I got my actual body back so that I could have real fun. They want us eating stupidity. And who's the they? So my doctor told me that the only way to heal my hip was to have a surgery. But my doctor, I have now learned, was trained by food companies. Food companies fund most of our universities. Food companies fund most of our research. We are allowing our medical system to be funded by the companies that are causing us to be obese and sick. And we don't understand why they give us bad advice. We don't understand why they don't advocate for the healthy keto and carnivore lifestyle when we figure out that that's what's going to help us to be healthy. And it's not because the doctor is aware. That's actually not the problem. It's because the doctor is not aware. Pay attention, Wellness Warrior. How many of you have doctors who are actually fit? Because I can tell you, my first doctor, well, she was fit, but she was Hungarian. My second doctor ended up leaving her practice early with what looked like Parkinson's. My third doctor, overweight, telling me that I need to lose weight. Many of the doctors that I've seen briefly for medical emergencies, overweight, pointing out that I need to lose weight. Wellness Warrior, let me know in the comments. How does it make you feel when you're standing in front of a doctor who is overweight telling you that you need to work on your weight? Or maybe your doctor doesn't mention it because they don't want to talk about themselves. They don't want to be a hypocrite. But regardless, you're sitting in front of a doctor knowing that your weight is higher than it should be. If he doesn't know or she doesn't know how to solve their weight issue, doesn't that tell us that maybe what we're being told about weight and managing our good health might be misguided, and that they are being misguided too? I would love to know, for those of you who have started keto or carnivore, what was the first problem that disappeared? What did you notice? Did you have something beyond weight that stood out to you like, oh my gosh, look at that? It healed. I want us to share our wins so that we can help other people understand it's not accidental that these things got better. We're helping our body by giving it what it actually wants, which is real food. Meat, fish, poultry, and eggs are real food. All the carbohydrates that we eat, Wellness Warrior, we're eating them for fun. And if we share this information and help each other out, we're building a stronger community, a community that's supporting each other. Like Wellness Warriors, you guys support me financially, like you guys here. If you want to become one of these guys, the links are in the description. You support me here by contributing to me making these videos, but you also support me by talking to me in the comments. Those conversations not only help me to feel like I'm reaching you, and therefore I want to make more and more and more of these videos to help you out, but those conversations help me because by reading that, yes, more people are understanding where good health comes from. I want to make as many of these videos and get the support and give the support. I want to give back to you guys. Our community is powerful because we help each other. And I know that talking down in the comments can be tricky because you're going to get those negative people that are going to come in and start attacking. I delete as many of those comments as I can, as quickly as I can. As the channel is growing, it becomes a little harder sometimes. But I encourage you, there's a link also to the community where we can support each other, and you get to have live conversations with me where we can talk through and support each other on anything. I like to answer questions. Again, links are all in the description. It is the most exciting thing that you ever live when you realize that you can go to a party and not be bothered by the cake on the table, that you can go out for a night out, let's say New Year's Eve, or even just going out with friends and not be bothered by the pizza or the fast food that used to make you overeat. And I think the other thing that I find quite amazing, Wellness Warrior, is that we don't even realize that our first compulsion was to carbohydrates because we didn't know we were creating that compulsion. There are many of us who have issues with drinking or smoking or other things, and we struggle to get away from them. I've spoken to multiple people that once they get their carbohydrates under control, getting the drinking and the smoking under control and the other stuff under control is easier. Why? Because these fake foods that we were eating, so all the vegetation-based foods, all the processed stupidity that we were eating that was harming our body, by removing that stuff, our brain is chasing that little bit less, and it allows you to get a better control on some of these other things that you are also chasing. Your body wants to be healthy. Getting rid of the substances, having steady energy, sleeping better, thinking more clearly. I mean, obviously, if I think more clearly, I'm going to make a better decision about whether I choose to drink when I know that I get out of control while I drink. These things matter. Weight loss happens when your body is healthy. A healthy body regulates its weight. The funny thing was I wasn't even trying to lose weight, Wellness Warrior. All of my attention was on healing my hip. Yes, I read that their weight loss was all of my attention was on healing my hip. I wanted to not be crying every night. I wanted to be able to actually sit in a chair for more. How long have I been sitting here making this video? 43 minutes. I know it won't be 43 minutes long, but I've been sitting here for 43 minutes talking to you guys about what I did to get to this place. And this is the second video that I'm making in a row. I don't know how long the other one was, but it probably was about the same amount of time, if not more. So that's more than an hour and a half to 2 hours that I've been sitting here, and I'm not in pain, Wellness Warrior. Can we understand how amazing that is for me? And you might not understand it if you've never had a pain issue like that. But I would explain it like shards of glass every time you take a step, poking into you. That's what it felt like to me. Not fun, not something anyone would want. I was trying to fix my hip I got rid of my insomnia, just thought of another one. So many things have improved in my life. When you give your body what it needs, meat, fish, poultry, and eggs, low glycemic vegetables, when your body has the right materials, not only does it heal itself, it heals your metabolism, it heals everything. Your body wants to be as healthy as it can, because in this jungle that it still thinks we're living in, running away from the lion is important. And today, I get to do my life again. I'm longboarding again. I'm snowboarding again. I'm climbing both indoor and outdoor again. I do what I want to do, and I feel amazing doing it. Why? Because not only did I lose weight 7 years ago, I've decided that I will eat healthy meat, fish, poultry, and eggs forever, because I want my body to be able to take care of me for as long as it possibly can. That is the goal of life, Wellness Warrior, to live your best life. And how do I do that if my body hurts? What I figured out is you don't. You don't live a happy life if your body hurts. You don't live a happy life if your mental health isn't working. Dr. Eid helped me to understand that for some people, it's their mental health that struggles. Every single thing that you can do to help yourself, you should be doing. So what I want you to do is eat healthy, low carbohydrate vegetation if you're going to eat it, meat, fish, poultry, eggs. And if you're still feeling like you're being overpowered by the potatoes or the rice or the ice cream or the cookies, this is the video that will help you to break free from your cravings. It is also linked below with all the links to become channel members or join the community. Let's help each other to improve our lives. Click on the links. Let's go.